I am so sorry, folks. Oh, it's loading up.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not connecting. I think you have to download something in your laptop in order to get it. Unless you want to,
I am sorry, folks, but
let's play it on your
we
iPad.
were having some issues with some technical issues. We were trying to play a video, and for some reason, we had it all set up, but I don't know what's happening. So just bear with us. Where is that? It's not showing. It should show. Is it because we started a new one? I don't know.
That's me.
Yeah. Okay.
Take it on here.
So that's Francine 4268. So
What was it?
oh my video. It's in there. Then I think it's on the Francine that's on. So stay on Francine. And let me see if I find this video in here.
Do it and post.
Okay.
Because remember, people are eating dinner.
Yeah. I know this may be a bad time for some of you. It's dinner time and whatnot. So I do apologize for that. But thank you anyhow for tuning in. I think due to our technical difficulties, we may have lost a couple people, and let's see if they will join us. If not, we'll just carry on.
So you're gonna watch this video.
So thank you so much again for coming. Yeah, I want to play a video clip for you of what happened in 2011, basically my illness with Stevens-Johnson syndrome. This video was done in 2012. It's a City TV video clip. So just hold on, bring it back. So that will give you my whole story in a nutshell. But you know, while we wait for the video, the journey with Stevens-Johnson syndrome is really not an easy one. And for those of you who do not know what Stevens-Johnson syndrome is, it is a deadly disease. It's a life-threatening disease. And it literally burns your body from the inside out. So Stevens-Johnson syndrome, SJS, and TEN, which is toxic epidermal necrolysis, they both represent different degrees of a severe acute life-threatening illness. And it's mainly a result of medication, a result of taking medication. So you have a reaction to that. With that said, that is the case for a lot of Stevens-Johnson syndrome survivors. But in few cases, such as mine, there is no known cause. To this day, they don't know. So they are both considered a medical emergency, and it requires hospitalization, and the patient is usually managed in the intensive care. Recovery can take up to weeks, months, and there are numerous long-term effects from Stevens-Johnson syndrome. So let me see if I can play this video for you, and then we will talk more about the illness.
White Dale is quite literally 1 in a million, but you would not want to be that special. Avery Haynes now with Sonia's rare medical odyssey A warning, though, the pictures in this story might literally make you queasy. Amber?
You got it.
Well, that's right, Roger. Queasy, because what you're about to see is Sonia's body ravaged by burns. And here's how fast it happened. On a Friday, Sonia went to a walk-in clinic with what she thought was the flu. By Monday, she was charred beyond recognition. This is the inside story of a woman who burned from the inside out.
I was looking like I was dipped in a pot of hot oil. Blisters all over my throat, my eyes, my palms, my fingernails were falling out. The only place that was not covered in burn was from my knee to my ankle.
Sonia White-Crowsdale always thought of herself as a glamour girl, a one-time Miss Black Canada contestant who 2 years ago was devastated by a medical nightmare. 90% of your body was covered in burns.
Was covered in burns. I wouldn't look in the mirror for the longest while, because the person looking back at me was not me.
When she was in the hospital, her face was like unrecognizable. So I took this picture.
And you just wanted them to know that this is my wife.
Yes.
And here is what is most shocking about these burns that charred Sonia's body. They weren't caused by fire, chemicals, or electricity. Most doctors have never seen this.
No.
It's called Stevens-Johnson syndrome, a deadly, mysterious, and rare condition that starts with a fever and flu and then rapidly spirals into a terrifying illness.
My body is burning itself from the inside out. Same thing was going on internally. I was getting sores inside my body. And if there's a word beyond excruciating, that's what I was feeling.
When you were in the hospital for those 6 weeks, you could have died.
They thought I died 1,000,000 times over.
For 6 long weeks, doctors cared for Sonia in the ICU and the burn ward. That was 2 years ago. The one saving grace is that her blistered skin has healed without a scar. Sonia appears perfectly healthy now. She's not.
When I walk, the slightest thing on the floor or even on the road, any pebble or anything, I feel that anywhere that someone holds me, it's like a fire is lit underneath. So it becomes very hot where one touches.
The odds of getting Stevens-Johnson syndrome is 1 in 1 million, and it's usually caused by a reaction to a pharmaceutical drug or a virus.
So many people have died because of Stevens-Johnson, and one of the main reasons is lack of diagnosis.
They essentially burn to death.
They essentially burn to death.
In Sonia's case, they simply don't know what brought it on.
That is the scary part, because there is a chance of reoccurrence. And of course, because we don't know the cause, then I don't know for sure what to stay away from.
And while her body slowly heals, Sonia's reaching out to others who have suffered from Stevens-Johnson syndrome by creating this website.
The next person who is diagnosed with this life-threatening, devastating illness should not have to go this journey alone.
Now, Sonia's website has been up and running for just a few weeks now already. She's been contacted by people right around the world sharing their own experiences with this very rare syndrome.
Incredibly strong woman to deal with this.
And she is in excruciating pain.
And another strong man we want to talk about, an update
Yeah.
on the side story that you brought us
So
earlier.
thank you again for tuning in. I hope that video was not too frightening for you. I know that parts of it were very graphic, but thank you so much for coming on. And yes, Stevens-Johnson syndrome is a deadly disease. And you know, the worst part about it is when I was in hospital, they did not even know what they were dealing with. It took a few days, I think, before they were able to finally diagnose what it is. Because initially they were saying they think it could be Stevens-Johnson syndrome. And of course, you have to do a biopsy to confirm that. And yes, the biopsy confirmed I had it. And yes, I almost died. I literally burned from the inside. I looked as if I was placed in a pot of hot oil and taken out. I looked like a fried chicken. But I am very grateful because the doctors and the nurses at the hospital, they were very, very helpful. They worked very closely with my family. And so basically, that is why I started this organization, because after leaving hospital, there was no support. I literally said to the doctor, there are supports for various types of diseases that one can go to and get support along the way. They told me there is none. When I got home, my body was literally falling apart. My hair came out like you just hold on to it and the hair would come out in your hand like clumps. My toenails and my fingernails, all 10 of them began to peel and fall off. My body literally fall apart. And on top of that, I developed other diseases, because that's a thing. Stevens-Johnson syndrome trigger other diseases in your body. And to this day, I am struggling with lupus and Sjogren's, and there is the fibromyalgia and everything else that that goes with it. So I really, really want everyone to be aware of this illness. Again, it can be triggered by medication, a reaction after taking a prescribed medication. So read your prescription labels carefully and just talk to your doctor about it. You know, Stevens-Johnson syndrome is a side effect of many, many illnesses, drugs, and very commonly is the one that they use to treat gout. That is also very, very, you have to look out for that and talk to your doctor. So I think my neighbors are just doing their thing. So I just want you to, on this day of Stevens-Johnson Syndrome Awareness Day, I just want you to talk to someone about the illness. The journey is not easy. It gets more difficult every day. I have to wear special glasses because I developed sensitivity to the light. So you can see that my glasses now have like a suction cup. I have to deal with severe dry eyes, and I use eye drops, but sometimes that does not even help. I also use hot water a lot. Sometimes, you know, there's sometimes at night I said to my husband, is this really happening to me? You know, like the video said, I used to be so many other things. But one thing I'm not going to do, I'm not going to let this illness define me. I want you all to join the fight against Stevens-Johnson syndrome. I know the lighting just took it away there, but I'm sure the banner will come back up. We are also having a town hall meeting this Thursday on Zoom. You can join us on that. You know, just you can make a comment and send us your request. We will send you the link. It's going to be 7:30, so it will not be dinner time. We will also be taking questions and answers. So if you have a question, you know, feel free to put it in the comment box. We will deal with that. But so many, when I ended up with Stevens-Johnson syndrome, I thought that I was alone. I thought I was an isolated case. And it took me years of researching and reaching out to really realize that there are much more people suffering from Stevens-Johnson syndrome and toxic epidermal necrolysis than we think. They do say it's one in a million. Like it is reported that Stevens-Johnson syndrome affects 1 to 6 per million people every year, and 10 affects 0.4 to 1.2 million people every year. But if you ask me, I think it is more than that, because as I continue my journey and start reaching out to different groups, I am finding that there are so much more people suffering from this illness, and the struggles continue. And I also want to recognize some people who have not made it. There are a lot who have not made it. They could not make it for some reason. And a lot of the times it's because of lack of diagnosis. It's a very rare illness, and it's sometimes very difficult to diagnose. And I do know of cases, quite a few cases, more than I can count on one hand, who have died based on lack of diagnosis. And so their body literally just burn them up and they die. So as hard as it may be for me, I'm sure it is much harder for my loved ones around me. But like I say, you know, I'm sharing my story. I'm open to questions, so feel free to ask. So if you have a question, like I say, just type it in, put it in the comments, and we will respond to that.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm in the background. I don't look as fancy as Sonia right now, so you won't be seeing me. I'm just gonna be doing asking a few questions. One question is SJS 10 contagious?
It is not contagious. And that is one thing that scared my family, scared the people in the hospital at the time when I was diagnosed. Everybody thought this must be something contagious. So, of course, the hospital went in total strict isolation precautions. And then after researching and they found out that it's not contagious, then it's funny and ironic because it was a reverse now, because I was the vulnerable one who could catch anything that they would bring into the room. So it was a reverse isolation. I was being protected from the visitors.
Okay, another question I have is, does SJS 10 affect one's diet?
Because of the burning that goes on inside and the sloughing of the skin, it is quite likely that one may have to adjust their diet. Because with this illness, you lose taste buds. Right now, I do not even have the sense of taste in my mouth. Food that I used to love tastes so different. Coming out of hospital, I was reduced to eating baby food. Everything that I ate had to be pureed because my whole mouth was scarred with burns. So, you know, a dietitian will work with you and you will be able to figure out what you can eat and what you cannot. And also, one more thing, just speaking on my experience, this is personal to me, I have developed allergies to so many different types of food that I now cannot eat. And I get sores, constant sores in my mouth, especially when I eat certain type of food, and it took me a while to figure out what it is. So let's say pineapple, for instance. If I am to eat a piece of pineapple, I would be covered in sores. So thank you for that question.
I know you have mentioned about the
Louder, please.
I know you have mentioned about the complications with the eyes for the aftermath. But what are long-term complications for SJS?
there is a whole lot of long-term complications. There is issues with the eyes. Okay, my eyes are so dry, and what happens now, my eyelashes, instead of growing out, they grow inside. So I constantly have to get my ingrown eyelashes plucked, and that is very scary. So you can think about having, say you're walking one day and the wind all of a sudden just picks up some dust, blows it your way, and the dust is in your eyes. You imagine how irritating that is? That is how irritated my eyes are normally every day. So that's my norm that I have to deal with. Other complications, there is, you can have depigmentation in your skin. And there is also psychological effects and multiple other organs, because if you talk to some other survivors, a lot of them are dealing with kidney issues and a whole bunch of different long-term effects of this disease. But talking about psychological effects, I am telling you, this illness pretty much closes you in a nutshell. And it makes me personally, and this is also what I hear from other survivors, we get very scared of medication. Medication is supposed to be our best friend, but we get scared now of taking medication because we really do not want to have a second reaction. And can you have a second reaction? For sure, it does happen. But I'm not a medical specialist. I've heard of survivors who have had the reactions more than once. So yes, it is highly likely.
So my last question is, what are your recommendations as far as the aftercare?
The aftercare for when you come out of hospital. Well, let me first talk about in hospital. If you go to the hospital now and is diagnosed with Stevens-Johnson syndrome, depending on the hospital that you are in, they may or may not have a protocol in place. I am part of an organization that is working and researching and trying to put medical protocols in place to deal with Stevens-Johnson syndrome. Sorry. And that's the other thing. I do get like really dry mouth. I do not make saliva. So yeah, we are working on getting protocols in place to deal with Stevens-Johnson syndrome, because the after effects, like your question suggested, there is a big gap. No matter where you are, there is a big gap in that. And so you may have to just rely on your family and your friends and whatever medical doctors or associates you have. But some of the care recommendations do include wearing a medical bracelet like the one I have here, or whichever form, is also strongly recommended, especially if you have a specific medication that triggered the Stevens-Johnson syndrome. It is highly recommended you wear a medical bracelet, so that way it is easily identified in case you are in an emergency. There's also allergy testing that you can get. Inform your health practitioners and follow up with your physicians. You also need to try and stay away from that medication. And exposure to the skin, exposure to the sun. When your skin is exposed to the sun, a lot of survivors, including myself, our skin burn very easily when we are in the sun. Loose fitting clothes. There are some survivors who have to wear UV clothing. I was shocked when I heard that, But for this particular survivor, UV clothing for going outside is a must. So, and don't be afraid to get some psychological assessment, because this is a scary journey and a lot of things happen. The same way your body ravish and burn on the outside, a lot of things go on in the inside. And so, based on this support, I did not find it when I was there. There was nobody that I could turn to. And so that is why we have Stevens-Johnson Syndrome Canada to help us in Canada and also around the world to be aware of this illness and to get support, because a lot of times people may not understand us, like what's happening with us, and they may say different things. They may say different things because they don't understand what is going on. And sorry, my throat is getting dry. This illness will not define me, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, bringing awareness. So, may I have a Kleenex? Sorry.
Joanne just says, I never heard of this until your case, but I am so glad to know you are doing okay.
Sorry, more water.
Up the good work,
Please.
you are doing, informing people about this. Thanks, girl. One love. That's from Joanne.
Talk for me. Louder.
Yeah, so as she was saying, we're doing the SJS Canada. That way people can, whoever you know, if you are suffering or someone you know is suffering, you have, and you're in Canada, within Canada, wherever you are, you have support here. There is opportunities to volunteer, donate, or just be a support. We can also include in the, when we're finished here, we can include the email, Facebook, and website for those who are more interested and want to further know about SJS and 10.
Thank you, Jamelia. So, what you just witnessed, that is me. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where, something happened and you're dealing with it and you say, I'm not going to break down, I'm not going to break down, and then you break down. So this cough spell comes on every now and then because, like I say, my my oral cavity is very dry. I do not produce saliva. And so, of course, talking for 10, 15 minutes, 28 minutes, that's definitely going to dry me out. So I'm going to just allow someone else here to talk to you guys, because this is also very important. The caregiver aspect, that's what I call it, because I have a husband who is my rock. I'm telling you, when I was in hospital and I got sick, this man would not leave me. And every night, he would give me a kiss on my forehead. And I am telling you, I could not see myself, so I don't know what I looked like. But I'm going to show you a picture of, that one is too dark, of what this man kissed every night when I was in hospital. The picture is graphic. You may want to turn away right now. But for those of you who are brave enough to look, I'm going to show you. This is what he kissed every night on the forehead. And he said it was so difficult because he couldn't find a spot to kiss because everywhere was covered in sore. But yet he found a spot to kiss me right here every night in hospital. He's never left my side. So it hasn't been easy for him as a caregiver because he's basically my caregiver. I can't do much on my own, and so he is always there. So why don't you come on over here, Han, and show your face so everybody can see my caregiver. So
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph Crowsdale, Sonia's husband, and I'm here with her as usual. I'll now take your questions.
So, situations like this force us to realize how sudden things can change. How was it for you and your family going from complete happiness to your wife at death's door?
From complete happiness, Sonia and I, we have a lot in common. We go for walks, or used to ride our bicycles. We used to watch movies, a little bit of dancing, go to church together. And we went to Florida for a holiday, one of the most beautiful holidays we've ever had. We went to relatives in Tampa, Orlando, and Fort Lauderdale. It was a fantastic holiday. Upon our return, that's when things started to go wrong. She was like, had what we thought was pink eyes, and she went to the hospital on Friday, as they said, and by the Monday, we could not recognize her. This thing was so fast. Her whole appearance just changed in like 3 days. And someone asked if it was contagious. That's the first thing I asked one of the doctors, because I thought I would take half of this illness if I could, but I wouldn't like all of it. Our life has been changed since.
What was the hardest part for you seeing your wife in that state?
The hardest part was to keep producing tears, because I cried so much. And I did what they call the extra mile. When you've done a mile, and when you've gone a mile and you still have extra miles to go, I just put that in, and I tried to smile through it, but the tears would come. The hardest part was I always wondered whether she would live or die, because I know how serious it was. So that was hard, day and night.
Oh yeah, and there was one point where you guys thought I died. Remember when I went to the eye doctor?
Oh yeah, we traveled by ambulance from Milton to Oakville, because there we had to see the specialist in Oakville, and he was cleaning her eyes manually. And when during the first eye, her hands and feet started fluttering, and then she appeared to pass out. When she passed out, I looked at the nurse looked at me, and we both thought this was it. Thought she was dead, right? And I just went numb. But the specialist went for a cold compress, put it on her forehead, and said she'll be all right. So that made me, that was a relief. But as for me, I thought she had gone. And then he said to her, "Do you want me to do the other eye?" Mm-hmm. And she said, "Come here, Johnny, hold my hand." And she said to the doctor, do what you have to do, Doc. And, that's how we got through that session.
Oh, yeah, because my eyes, I forgot to tell you guys that part. My eyes were fused shut. My poor little eyes, I could not open them. The burning from the disease. One morning, my sister Margaret, who had stayed the night, they had put gauze over my eyes. And when she took the gauze off came my eyelashes and also my eyebrows. Everything came off on the gauze, and for weeks I could not open my eyes. So with my body ravishing, I could not see it. So I didn't even know what they were talking about. But thanks be to God, there was a church sister of mine who sat there and literally picked away the scales from my eyes. And eventually my eyes were able to be open, but I still could not see. Sorry, I just had to add that in. Carry on with your question to him.
Caregivers have so many different roles. What were some of your duties as her primary caregiver?
I think I had to do everything because even in the hospital at nights, she would not wait for the nurse to come and put her to bed. So I had to give her a bed bath. I had to give her a bedpan. I had to do everything like that. And even when she came home, I had to wash her clothes, put them away. I had to feed her. I had to get her a baby spoon. And yes, I had to search for it. And her clothes had to be special. Everything had to be soft. And so my payment was one day she looked at me and she said, I've never seen anyone so happy looking after someone. Sure. Because I knew how to do it. So I just did it as best as I could.
Yeah, and unfortunately, not all survivors of Stevens-Johnson syndrome have the support that I have. My family and my friends, my church family, if it was not for them and my dear husband, I don't know how I would have survived. And to this day, my heart goes out for the individuals who do not have support. And because of that, we also have a Stevens-Johnson syndrome support group where we meet once per month on Zoom and we talk about our issues and we support each other. And so there is a spot in my heart for those individuals who do not have the support.
And our final question, what would you like to say to others going through this with a loved one or who have gone through this with a loved one?
Be prepared. It's not easy. Give of your best and keep reassuring your partner or the person because they will be really down and will need a lot of reassuring. Reassurance is a must because, to look at Sonia, even when she came out and was walking down the street and the scars and blisters were still evident, people would turn back and look at her, and I had to really reassure her that one day she will be all right, which, thank God, she is looking much better now.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, dear. I'm telling you, this is not easy. Talk about looks. And I don't know if you were on earlier to see the my City TV interview, and they had mentioned about me being, a glamour girl and a one-time Miss Black Canada contestant. Imagine coming from that place to a place where the mirror became my worst enemy. I had my husband and my kids cover every single mirror in my house because I did not want to see that person in the mirror, because I believe and I knew that person was not me. So I refused to look in the mirror.
I just want to say a big thank you again. I thanked them before for the family and friends who helped me and Sonia through this. And my job continues. I give them a break. Thank you.
You know, there are some comments here. Jeremy, shout out to Jeremy and Jane and all the others that are joining us. Jeremy also is a survivor, and he had his mom to support him, so that was good. My sister Margaret is there, my cousin. Shout out to Jane, Mark, Joanne, Marlene, Margaret, and all the people that are here joining us. Because through Stevens-Johnson syndrome, my motto, if you get an email from me in the signature panel, it will say "Stronger Together." And that is my belief. If we stick together and support each other, because we know and understand what is going on in our head, and we get that support and we get that love. I am telling you folks, Stevens-Johnson syndrome is real. It is real. If I get it, because you know, there are times you look at something and you say, if I would ever get that, or oh, that won't happen to me, or whatever, then I was one of those people that I would say, if I learn about this disease, even through how some of you are learning about it now, I would say, man, I would never get that, you know, something along that line. But it happened to me. A one-time Miss Black Canada contestant. I came up in the top 10 people, in the top 10. And I just want to say it is very, very difficult. Don't limit your challenges. Challenge your limits. And that's basically what I can say to you. You may see me on camera or walking down the street, and I may appear normal, but you would not understand or even begin to imagine the challenges that I face at night. Nights are the worst time for me and the worst time for a lot of us. We talk about psychological effects. That is very difficult. My thoughts are so distorted sometimes that I even think, oh my goodness, am I going crazy? But the journey is not easy. It is not easy. But I want you guys to reach out to a survivor today as we celebrate Stevens-Johnson syndrome and toxic epidermal necrolysis Awareness Day. Reach out to somebody. Even if all you can say to someone, please check your medication, check the side effects before you take them. Our allies, Stevens-Johnson Foundation in the US, they have a slogan that say, educate before you medicate. Educate before you medicate. And I find that to be very powerful. So I do thank you all for coming on. Like I say, Stevens-Johnson syndrome does not define me. Together with our group of friends and supporters like yourself, we are stronger. We take it one day at a time, and we just keep going because we must. You know, Jeremy here is saying SJS victims deal with a lot of things very differently. In Jeremy's case, he reacted to a medication, Bactrin, Bactrin, and you know, yeah, it's just those moments, people, as a survivor, when it may look like all is well, but all is not well, but all is well, because I'm staying positive. I thank God every day that I am alive. And if sharing my story can make a difference in the life of one person, then I have done my job. Because I believe that this illness has taken me on a different path in life, a path that I had not even dreamed about taking. But I do thank you for listening. I do thank you for tuning in. And let me just see some other things. Jody here is saying some don't even know what they react to. And that is true, because like I say, I am a proof of that. To this day, we don't know. The doctors don't know. I did so many allergy testing. They test for every possible medication that I may have taken, but there has not been anything to say that that's what I reacted to. There's someone else that reacted to a sulfa medication. And let me just see what else is happening here. And, you know, we do have someone in our support group, the name of which I won't call, who had Stevens-Johnson syndrome years and years ago. And this individual was treated at home by his loving and caring wife. And I salute him every day, because I said, I thought I was the brave and strong warrior. But having to deal with this illness at home and to survive, that is a miracle, my friend. And so I welcome people all the time. Share your stories. We post stories on our website at www.sjscanada.org. So if you go on our website, there are some stories there of individuals who want to share their stories to help and support others along the way. So do not hesitate to check out our website. Like I say, we do have a town hall coming up on the 20th of this month. Email us for the Zoom link. You can email us at sjscresources@gmail.com. We will put that in the chat box for you. So the website is sjscanada.org. The Facebook, the email address, if you want to join our event this coming Thursday, is sjscresources@gmail.com. No, SJSC Resources. Sorry, I'm just having someone type it in. They just make an error there. So it's SJSC Resources at gmail.com. Okay. Okay, I need a nice button.
That was supposed to.
I have someone also who's commenting I think this is from a survivor. Sulfur seems to be common, as well as what I was prescribed and took. So I had mentioned a sulfur drug before. There you go. There is a survivor who is saying that. Another one, like myself, is saying that their reaction is unknown, and that makes it very scary not knowing what to take. Thank you for echoing the statement I made earlier. That is exactly where I am today, not knowing what I can take. And this individual, Jody, she is at 25 years surviving Stevens-Johnson syndrome. My goodness. The journey for this individual, Jody, I'm sure may not be an easy one. Let me just see if there's any other comments or anything, but please do check us out. And oh boy, I tell you, just bear with me. I'm good. But you know, it is really hard. It's okay to be a glow stick, because sometimes we have to break before we shine. And I think that's the note on which I'm going to leave us all with. I'm going to thank you all for joining. Again, it's okay to be a glow stick, but in order for you to shine, you have to break. And I think I have been broken, and my glow is to reach out to individuals and let them be aware of this monster called Stevens-Johnson syndrome, or toxic epidermal necrolysis. And does it only take old folks my age? It does not. It also affects children. In our support group, we have teenagers who have been struggling with Stevens-Johnson syndrome. We have caregivers in our support group, some of whom, unfortunately, their loved ones have not survived Stevens-Johnson syndrome. And we have caregivers, supporters who are being strong advocates, advocating to their government in the different states in which they live to bring about changes. We are trying to get a Stevens-Johnson syndrome day here in Canada. And listen to this, folks. We put in an application to apply for this awareness day. We got a response back. Sorry, we are unable to grant this request because we do not know about this disease. I'm like, duh. This is why we want to create awareness and have a day where everybody can know about it. But thank you, Jennifer, for joining in. I see you make a comment there. Paul and Pauline and Bruce, Vanessa, who just joined. And I think if you look in the chat box there, Vanessa did make a correction to the email address. I think we kind of typed that in error there. But again, we gotta break so that the glow from our glow stick can shine. And so I want you to allow yourself to break whatever form that break takes, because it's only through that you can shine. Thank you all so much for listening. We tried to share some pictures and videos with you to make it a little bit more interactive, but my technical team was not as technical as I hoped they would be. But I do thank them. I thank everybody that supported me in coming here. Shout out to my sister Margaret, all the individuals from my support group. Thank you. You help to keep me sane. God bless you all. Again, awareness. Join the fight against Stephen. Join the fight against the disease that burns the body from the inside out. That's what our banner there is saying. So thank you all. Thank you so much. And allow yourself to shine.